This is Russ Kenzior, and welcome back to Safety Matters. Joining me again today is my co-host, Sean Joseph. How you doing, Sean?
Doing well. How's it going, Russ?
How was your week?
Week was good. It's getting hot here in Texas. Depending on where you're watching, hope the weather's good. But most importantly, it was safe. So glad to be here.
Wow, there's a segue for you. Well, we got a big show today. You ready to get cracking?
Let's do it.
We got a lot to talk about. All righty. Number one, Fox News. This came out last week. Did you hear about this? Colorado woman was at a Home Depot, got attacked by a dog, and the owner of the dog fled, left the store. Jeez. Home Depot customer attacked at Evergreen, Colorado location. Wow. Home Depot customer bitten in the face by a dog while shopping in Colorado last month, according to authorities. Customer was visiting a Home Depot, and when the dog's owner and trainer, this is kind of weird, approached them, the dog owner asked the customer to give the dog a treat. So kind of play this out. The dog owner and the trainer approach a customer saying, hey, we're trying to train this dog. Here's the treat. Feed my dog this treat. Now, okay, you're like, okay, we'll help out. Well, in the process of trying to help, the dog bit her. And so the owner asked the customer to give the dog a treat, part of his training. Customer agreed and was bitten on the face by the canine. The dog owner and trainer then left the building, took off, while store employees were tending to the victim. Both women were recorded on the store's surveillance video camera. Here they are. And so the woman on the left with that very large dog, what do you notice that's unique about this picture of the dog owner and the dog? What do you think is kind of weird? If anything.
So things that jump out to me, it looks like there's a leash. It looks like a little bit of a weird leash. It's like as if they're on some apparatus or about to be on some
doesn't
apparatus.
It look like there's a muzzle on the dog? Like a strap around its muzzle? Like, I
was going to say, is that a leash? It doesn't look like a leash, but something to restrain the dog, essentially. To
restrain the dog's muzzle. They put like a muzzle on its muzzle. A muzzle on the muzzle. A big dog, right? We'd agree, big dog.
Right.
And the lady behind is just kind of like, hey, I'm just trying to, check out. And hey, you want to give my dog a treat? Sure, I can help out. Well, she's now gone through a lot of surgeries. Police say that the victim sustained serious injuries and will need facial surgery because of the attack. Jefferson County Sheriff's Office told Fox News Digital that they posted surveillance pictures on Thursday to seek help in identifying the woman being the owner of the dog. They located the suspect later that night. Sheriff's Office said the dogs are typically quarantined in similar cases. But it's an interesting story because every time I go to Home Depot and Lowe's, which is often, you know what my nickname is at Lowe's? Job security. Job security's here. I'm part of their retirement plan.
That's a compliment.
Every time I'm there, there's always somebody with a dog.
Okay.
And I like dogs. I own a dog.
I was going to ask you.
Come on, who doesn't like dogs? But, it's always been kind of awkward. Like, because sometimes, the one dog owner's, dog that kind of goes after another dog, it's like this unfamiliar turf. And, dogs are very territorial. They're, pack. They like to pack. And so I asked myself, well, what's the policy of Home Depot, Lowe's, of any retail store regarding animals? And of course, the policy is if it's a service animal for a blind person, that's acceptable. But all of them, including Home Depot, either have a very vague policy or a policy that doesn't speak to this issue. And so I'm wondering if this woman's got a claim against Home Depot. Hey, you allow people in with dogs. I was exposed to a ferocious animal that bit her on the face. The owner takes off. Mm-hmm. Now, talk about irresponsible. What kind of a pet owner is she? She flees the scene of a crime that her dog, created.
And she enticed her to interact with the dog.
And said, hey, here's a treat. You want to give my dog something to eat?
That's like honestly, it sounds like the worst scenario. Here, come interact with my dog, get bitten in the face. Bye.
Yeah, got to go. So I sit there and I thought, well, because I see a lot of dogs at retailers in general. very often. And I wonder if that's going to change the policy of Home Depot. No more dogs. Sorry, we're not taking the risk of people bringing their dogs in. And, dogs do poop and the whole deal. I mean, I've seen it all. And again, I like dogs. Most of the dogs I've seen are not, attacking anybody. But it does seem like a policy that needs to be established. Again, if you're blind, you need a service animal, understood. But if you just want to come in with Fluffy, or look at the size of that dog. That was like a Great Dane looking thing. That was a big dog. And the dog's not quite trained. And, by the way, Sean, when somebody asks you, hey, you want to give my dog that's being trained a treat? No. The answer is no, I would not. And please stay away from me with the dog.
So I have a question for you. People love dogs.
Who doesn't?
Right? For the most part, people love dogs. They're man's best friend, right? So how do you answer that question if you put yourself in that situation? Or if you are a patron at a store, right, honoring the customer process, but you do have to interact with animals that are unsafe, how do you voice yourself, protect yourself without being the
that's a
bad
good
guy?
question. What about people that are just allergic?
There you go.
Or just have a fear.
Absolutely.
Have a fear of animals.
If you're allergic, that's a serious risk. Absolutely.
I mean, I'm going to Home Depot to pick up some, PVC pipe. And here's a dog that I'm afraid of. Mm-hmm. Not me personally, but somebody might say that. What's the policy for Home Depot and Lowe's regarding animals? It was an interesting story. It was one that came up this week, and thought we needed to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Item number 2. You may have read this, also from Fox News. Senator Richard Blumenthal, age 77, underwent surgery after breaking his leg. Connecticut Senator Blumenthal is set to undergo surgery on Sunday. Broke his femur. That's a very big bone in your leg. The Connecticut Democrat fractured his femur during a mishap at the victory parade for the University of Connecticut men's basketball team. On Saturday, News 12 Connecticut reported the Huskies won the men's NCAA basketball national championship, which was quite a game. And according to the outlet, someone was taking a video of Senator Blumenthal during the parade and fell on top of him, causing an injury. Did you catch that news?
No. But
well,
the celebration turned bad.
Celebration went bad. In fact, he actually says that. There he is. You recognize him?
No.
Just another old guy serving in our Congress.
That's my own fault.
I mean, come on.
Not
that's what you meant, didn't you? Come on, be honest.
No.
Come on, say it.
No, I was
just another old guy, old white guy.
I think he looks good.
Yeah, right. Of course. Yeah, sure he does. Looks great. Not so great now that he broke his femur.
Yeah.
But there he is. Listen to the statement. Hey, what can I say? I love a parade. Blumenthal tweeted, thanks to Chris and everyone for the well wishes. I did indeed fracture my femur after a fellow parade goer tripped and fell on me during the parade today. Routine surgery tomorrow. By the way, there's no such thing as routine surgery to your femur when you're age 77. And I expect a full recovery. That's kind of where he's at. So, okay. Poor guy. I mean, kind of a mishap. The real problem, though, Sean, is falls are a big deal to old people. He's an old person. Accidental falls are the leading cause of death to people over the age of 75. Number one, did you know that? Number one reason for a person over the age of 75 to die accidentally, meaning not cancer, lung disease, that kind of thing, is a fall. About $50 billion a year is spent fixing older people. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security pays for a bunch of this, Medicare and Medicaid primarily. Emergency room treatment, there's about 2 million go to the emergency room. Statistics are pretty grim. And that's why I say nothing is routine. And the femur is a big bone. And just curious how he is going to recover at his age, because a younger person would have a difficult time recovering from such a serious injury. But you see how it happened. Just at a parade, celebrating, and somebody fell on him. And falls aren't funny, Sean.
They're not. I guess
falls aren't funny.
Man, that's so sad, because I guess when hearing that, it's like it can happen at any time.
Sure, anywhere.
So, is there something there's so many scenarios you're going to go through, but is there anything you kind of think about or recommend to the public of when you do go about enjoy yourself, right? But just keep at least these foundational things in place to do your best to minimize a fall.
I was waiting for the punchline of because you never were told who fell on him. You think it was a Trump supporter? Think this is a conspiracy? Maybe it was Trump himself. Fell on him, broke his leg, broke the femur. Anyhow, I thought I would share the story of Senator Blumenthal's accidental fall, and God bless him, quick recovery. Item number 3. Epoch Times, drinking a little alcohol every day won't help you live longer, says new study. Those who drank low amounts of alcohol showed no reduction in mortality. No amount of alcohol is good for you. Now, the reason I'm bringing this story back up, Sean, is it wasn't that long ago. A few episodes back, I did a whole story on this, a whole story about the latest research showing alcohol is bad for you at any level. Any amount of alcohol is bad for you. It didn't necessarily get through to Christ when he was at the wedding in Cana where creating wine, that was actually really a bad thing to do. But nonetheless, the study that I covered last time was no level of alcohol is acceptable. It's all really bad for you. And I thought, well, gee, why is this story back? Mm-hmm. And so the story is back. And again, it kind of goes back to the previous studies that show that drinking moderate amounts of alcohol might have some health benefits. But a new study published by JAMA, Journal of American Medicine, suggests that might not be the case after all. Research from Canadian Institute for Substance Use. Now, I got to ask you, did you know there's such a group of people?
No.
Have you ever thought, hey, there's a group of people in Canada studying alcohol consumption? Now, by the way, it's Canada. I mean, it's cold. To my friends in Canada, it's kind of a miserable place to live. I mean, most Canadians live within 100 miles of the United States. I mean, it's a big country.
Oh, wow.
It is ginormous, and most of it's barren.
Mm-hmm.
And Did I mention cold?
Very.
So they're doing research in Canada, in Victoria, which is a beautiful city. 107 studies published between 1980 and 2021 involved 4.8 million participants. I guess a lot of people drinking. They found, Sean, that drinkers who consumed less than an ounce of ethanol, of course, ethanol is the alcohol that's in alcohol, beer, wine, that kind of stuff, showed no significant increase in lifespan compared to non-drinkers. And I'm going to ask you, because that's kind of the red flag. What were they studying?
Yeah.
Lifespan, meaning if you drink versus if you don't drink, we're going to measure how long you live. There's like a million other variables.
Yeah.
A million, I'm probably underestimating it. There's so many ways to measure lifespan and longevity and health but it's kind of an interesting story because when you kind of follow the bouncing ball here, it talks about the paper provided further evidence that the idea that there are health benefits from moderate alcohol use is not based on strong science. Now I got to ask you, Sean, who is Mr. Science?
Dr. Fauci.
And he didn't have anything to do with this study. So let's just put that, all right, in context. Because he is science.
He's science.
And he was not involved in this science.
He is synonymous with
He's
science.
synonymous. Studies make people who continue to drink appear healthy by comparison with people who stop drinking for health reasons. Health reasons usually means alcoholism. Doctors should not advise their patients to drink for health reasons. Now, let me ask you a personal question, Sean. You've got a couple of sisters that are medical professionals.
Yes.
Do me a favor. Ask them. Hey, have you ever told a patient it's time to have a drink? I mean, you really need a beer. A scotch and water.
After.
My prescription is a scotch and water. You want a little bourbon? I mean, what doctor would prescribe alcohol? I mean, a witch doctor? I mean, and maybe in Canada they do. But you sit there and you go, let me read this again. Doctors should not advise their patients to drink for health reasons. Now, that's saying that doctors are doing that.
So that
they shouldn't do that.
The one scenario I've heard of is that a glass of wine can be heart healthy.
I thought the same.
But according to the science, there's not clarity on that. And you brought up a good point, which is how exactly are they measuring this? And I guess the bigger question is these things get reported, But to what level do they actually explain how they came to that conclusion? Because isn't that really yes, you have to grab people's attention, but at some point, don't you have to validate with that science or that, deductive reasoning? But as you mentioned, right, from what we just read, there's no clear correlation between the two. But more importantly, there's so many other factors on when a person does or does not die. How exactly do you isolate this?
You tell me. I mean, it's an ambiguous study. In the U.S., a standard alcoholic beverage contains about half an ounce of ethanol. Did you know that that's the primary form of alcohol that's in alcohol is ethanol?
No.
That's the good one. What's the bad one?
I was going to say, that sounds
Let's see if you know the good one or the bad one. What's the bad one? As
soon as I think of ethanol, I think of gasoline. So am I totally out?
Yeah, you don't want to drink gasoline. All right. Do you ever watch Moonshiners?
No.
On TV? The guys from Kentucky or somewhere, they make moonshine out in the forest, and they're always trying to evade the law. And they'll talk about the first cut is you don't want to drink it because that's the stuff that makes you go blind. What is that stuff called? It's not ethanol. It's
come on. I know this. It's what does it start with?
No, you got it wrong. Sorry, Sean. Methanol. Yeah. You knew that. You knew that, didn't you? Yeah, you knew that.
I didn't.
Of course. Methanol. That's what I was
Sorry.
going to say, Russ. Methanol is the bad alcohol. That's the stuff that creates blindness, and you don't want to drink that. So ethanol is the good alcohol. Anyhow, it goes on to say that this means that 1 ounce would be equivalent to what's in 2 12-ounce beers, 2 5-ounce glasses of wine, or 2 1.5 ounces glasses of distilled spirits, per the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. I don't know if you ever heard of that group. Small amount of alcohol can be just as problematic for some people, especially if alcohol has been a go-to coping mechanism, he explained. Now, I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think if you want to measure the health and longevity of people, if you abuse alcohol, it's like if you abuse anything. Look at the obesity problem in our country. People abuse food.
Oh, that doesn't get talked about enough.
Let's talk about longevity of obesity, the abuse of food. Mm-hmm. I think that's a bigger public health crisis than alcoholism. Not that I'm making excuses, but everywhere you turn. And by the way, I'm on a strict Whataburger diet, my doctor's prescription, to ensure that my health is preserved. But back to the story. Doctor added that some people are more susceptible because of genetics. Now they're onto something. So the amount one person drinks could affect that person much differently
that's interesting.
Than if it was somebody else. Do you agree?
I think it's very possible. College, I would say those were my strongest drinking years.
Peer pressure, right of...
a little combination of peer pressure, I'm not going to lie. I, enjoyed a night out, right? A good weekend. But
a night out every weekend, or every weekend was a night out?
So I didn't really party much until senior year, but senior year I was at the University of Texas in Austin. For anybody that's been to Austin, I know it's a popular destination right now. The campus itself is pretty diverse. So, with these parties, you'll just kind of, there's just a wide range of
alcohol consumption.
Of alcohol consumption and students in attendance. And, I think you take a little bit of notice on, same amount to body weight distribution, but it seems like there's a different impact.
Well, yeah, it's a rite of passage. Some people abuse alcohol. It's a common problem. It's been around for centuries. And it's a terrible disease. No doubt about it. I'm not making light of alcoholism, but the minute you say no alcohol is ever good. When I was growing up just a couple weeks ago, cough medicine has alcohol in it. Mm-hmm. I thought that was good. Why do they put alcohol in cough medicine if this isn't good for you?
I thought it was to help sleep.
Good question.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the deal? Why do you get cough like Vicks and NyQuil and all these brands? It's all alcohol.
I don't know.
But it's not bad for you. Stops my cough. This story does take an interesting twist, though. Because remember what we did? We did a story about the lady getting bit in the face by a dog and alcoholism. So believe it or not, I've merged these two topics together. And you're going to say, how'd you do that? Well, here's how we did it. Alcoholic dog suffered withdrawal after owner died.
Oh,
Dog's now in a shelter, and it's a first for us. We've never had an alcoholic dog. Coco, a 2-year-old lab mix, reportedly required round-the-clock care and still suffers anxiety. You got an alcoholic dog. Dog apparently suffered from alcohol withdrawal, was mended back to health in what an animal welfare trust in the United Kingdom, in England, called a first for us. We've never had an alcoholic dog. Coco, a 2-year-old lab mix, was brought to the Animal Rescue Trust in Plimpton, England, earlier this year with another dog after their owner died.
holy moly.
The trust said in a Facebook post last Tuesday, staff at the trust believed both dogs became addicted to alcohol because their deceased owner left alcohol out, according to the BBC. Now, I will guarantee you if I leave alcohol out, my dog will not drink it.
How could you guarantee that?
I've done it. It's like, if you have an empty beer can, or not that I've ever, that's ever happened to me. The dog's not going after the beer cans, right? It's not going in the garbage to get the beer cans. It's going in the garbage to get like the leftover food, but not the beer cans.
Fair.
I mean, you have a dog? You have a dog?
I have had a dog.
Okay.
I don't have one.
Was your dog going after like the vodka?
No, not liquid. If we left food out, she'd go after the food.
Yeah. Dogs like food.
How do you even get, like, if the alcohol's not on the floor, like the liquid is on the floor? Because a lot of these bottles you have to twist.
Well, maybe the dogs know how to get around that.
Oh.
The little twist tie, that security cap, they navigate it.
This is insane.
But you're right. You bring up a good point. In fact, the story kind of goes on and says it could be that just after, like, say, the owners had a drink and they went to sleep. And the dogs may have drank it, but we don't know. Staff member Kristen Stone told the outlet, look at this cute dog. On the mend. She's on the wagon. Coco is on the wagon. What a cute dog, huh?
Very cute.
Tell me that ain't a cute dog.
Super cute.
And so you got a dog that is a alcoholic. Not certain how that works. But the good people in the United Kingdom are working with the dog to get her on the mend. The trust noted that Coco and other dog began to be very unwell. Leave it to a Brit to use phrases like very unwell when they arrived. But a veterinarian was on site to offer emergency care. Was that like they came in with a hangover? And the vet was like, hey, we got some, margarita mix or, Bloody Mary. We're ready. We're prepared. The dog's here. We've got some leftover pizza. Not a problem. We've been there before. I mean, after all, this happens all the time, the vets. But the dogs came in a little tipsy. Coco continued to be seriously unwell, required round-the-clock care, suffering from symptoms that all pointed to alcohol withdrawal. I guess that's a hangover, right? Dog was hungover.
Wow.
The trust added that Coco is presently off all medication and is now starting to behave like a normal dog, though he continues to experience bouts of anxiety. He's not ready for adoption, and whilst physically he seems to have recovered, mentally he's still very anxious at times. They said, adding that, without our care, Coco would likely have not survived the heartbreaking ordeal. And so here's the story of a dog that's an alcoholic. We talked about the dog who bit somebody in the face. It's a traumatic story, and I don't know what happened to the dog's owner, but a dog hit the bottle.
So we were talking about, it's interesting how the dog obtained and consumed the alcohol. But what I also find interesting is, it's as if it's true coping mechanism. Like there's grief associated with the passing, and alcohol is being used to, sedate, which is just interesting on so many levels because this is a canine.
Yeah, I mean, dogs can be alcoholic too. Never knew that. And boozing it up, had to go through withdrawal. But thought I would share that story with our listeners because it mended two news topics simultaneously. Okay, last subject we've got to cover today. Number 4, Fox News. FDA admits your federal government, Sean, admits to knowing all about the deadly bacteria found in the baby formula factory months before the product recall. Do you guys remember, or do you remember the baby formula mishap? Goes back to whatever, late last year. Didn't have enough baby formula. Remember that? Like people were like, it was like a black market, cleaning the shelves off baby formula because the one baby formula manufacturer in the country had bacteria, listeria. There's one company makes it all, like in Michigan.
Holy moly.
And they had to shut them down because they found bacteria. And so all these mothers are like, well, how do we feed our babies? There's no. Then they're like bringing it in from Europe. Like the Europeans are like providing us like care packages. Like, hey, the U.S. is in need of formula. They don't have any. So we started getting, formula. But the thing that's interesting is, check it out. Federal government, Sean, knew about it months before. Months. We just find out now. Here it is, going on a year later, whatever, 6 months later. Company pulled 145,000 cans of Enfamil in February, months after it alerted the FDA to the presence of the harmful bacteria. So the FDA admitted to having knowledge of a deadly bacteria detected in a type of baby formula months before the brand was recalled. In November, the FDA inspected the Mead Johnson plant where Enfamil Pro-Sorbet, simply plant-based infant formula, is made, and was informed that the Chronobacter bacteria had been detected at the Zeeland, Michigan. There you go. I knew it was in Michigan facility in September. Despite the initial contaminated batch being destroyed, another 145,000 cans just happened to find their way to the recall after the bacteria was found in the formula. No bacteria was found in the recalled cans of formula, according to the FDA. The reason I wanted to bring this story up is because this is yet another example of incompetent government. We charge our elected and unelected officials, public health officials, with looking out for our well-being, and yet another example of them dropping the ball. Not just a little one, a big one. I mean, imagine the potential harm, and I think there's a number of children who died. And sleep at the wheel, man.
That's
sleep
among
at
the
the
most
wheel. Don't tell anybody.
Things.
Don't tell anybody there's more contaminated formula. It's not like Joe Biden now. That's how he talks.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, and again, you find out. Look, when you find out. You find out 6 months later. The February recall came around 5 months after the discovery, Sean. After they discovered the problem, then they recalled. Well, guess what? 5 months later, that formula is probably gone. Right? They drank it.
Absolutely.
Babies drank the formula. Formula is gone. Not a lot of people hang on to formula for 5 months because the babies drink it. And so, what a calamity! What a travesty! Another letdown. And we'll see who's held accountable. Like nobody, as usual. Anyhow, the CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, say that, quote, the disease can be deadly for young infants. Well, go figure. Yeah, it can be deadly for young infants. Symptoms in babies include fever, poor feeding, excessive crying, low energy, seizures, spine swelling. There you go. And bloodstream infections. There's the stuff. And by the way, you notice the shelf is bare.
Holy moly.
It's one unit. It looks like a kind of a Photoshop picture there. And so, there you have it. It was only during an unrelated inspection of the company that the FDA even discovered this stuff, Sean. It was told that analysis to the cause was ongoing. The government's, of course, forever perpetually investigating everything, Sean. Aren't they still investigating like Roswell? I mean, that's when our government fails us, instead of just admitting they failed us, and maybe somebody should lose their job, or maybe a lot of people should lose their job. What do? They create a blue ribbon committee to study it. And we're going to look into that. And you know what? That's just a way to bury the story because the news cycle goes on. People forget. Unless that was your baby, right? That was your baby that got sick or died. You're not going to forget. But bad stuff. In a 10-page report following the shortage, the FDA blamed, here you go, the FDA blamed outdated systems for failing to address a whistleblower complaint about problems at the facility. And let me read that again. The 10-page report following the shortage, okay, of the material that was pulled from the shelves, The FDA, Federal Drug Administration, the people responsible for protecting
I
us,
see.
they're blaming outdated systems for failing to address a whistleblower complaint about problems at the facility. We knew about the problem. There was a whistleblower. We ignored it. But somehow, and we hear this all the time, Sean, the system let us down. Oh, the society's problem. No, there's people who let us down. There's investigators, inspectors, health officials that let us down. What systems are you referring to? The systems that they're referring to, Sean, is called the systems of incompetence. Admit it. That's what failed. You are incompetent. You're asleep at the wheel. And it costs people's health and lives. But, blame game, right? Blame somebody else. It's always blame somebody else. It's not my fault. It's the system's fault. And you know what comes from that, Sean? Let me tell you what comes from that. We need more money, right? If only we had bigger budgets. Give us more money. We'll do a better job, right? How often do you hear that?
Often.
Yeah, give us more money.
Yeah.
Give us more money. We'll do a better job. No, it's the other way around. It's we're going to give you less money until you prove to us you're competent. That's the business model. We're not going to feed you more money to do the job incorrectly, or in this case, really not to do the job at all. No accountability, no responsibility. Public safety is jeopardized. Welcome to America where, safety just doesn't matter.
I don't mean to be alarmist, but I truly believe this is horrifying on several accounts. This is the FDA finding a significant issue with baby formula.
Right.
And that product's still hitting the shelves. Right. And
they know about it.
And they know about it.
And the whistleblower who came up and said, hey, you guys got to look into this. We've got problems at this plant. And what system are they referring to?
I guess I'm so curious. Like this is one of those ones where I'm like so mind boggled. I'm going to send it to my sister. One of my sisters, she's a pediatrician. So like, I'm curious if she's aware of this. What I do truly find alarming is that, like, I look at the FDA, when I hear the letters FDA, there's, this phrase with so many foods, things that you consume, it's FDA approved. As if that's supposed to be some, okay, awesome.
You know what FDA stands for, don't you?
Food and Drug Administration.
Frickin' dumbasses. Yeah, that's what it is. And again, here we go again. Just another example of being grossly let down by our federal government. No accountability, no responsibility. Children, parents, just imagine how bad this was and could have been. But when it's all said and done, the secret report comes out a year later that says, oh, yeah, we know all about it. But you never heard we're going to change our system.
That's what I was
I didn't hear we're going to amend, we're going to update our procedures.
What's going to happen?
What's going to happen? No, what's going to happen is they're going to try to go to Congress and ask for more money. You know what the answer is? AI. Replace them all. Just AI. I'm sorry. We don't need you anymore. You've been replaced with a robot. Didn't like Elon Musk invent the robot that walks around and can do this sort of thing? I mean, what do we need these people for? Really, we entrust our public safety with these public servants, right?
You were talking today earlier about, just the concept of like, do your job. To me, as I hear this is a massive FDA did not, it looks like they were aware of it. The part I get curious, there was a whistleblowing that occurred, but where did it break?
Well, where did it go?
Yeah.
So you got somebody that puts their name on the line, possibly their career.
Right.
Goes to the federal government, does what they're told, see something, say something. Did everything they were supposed to do, and the federal government's like, hey, yeah, we're on top of it. We'll get around to that, maybe, we think. What else do they do? That's their whole job. And don't get me wrong, the manufacturer's culpable too, right? They had a responsibility to do the right thing. But it's just important, and the reason I wanted to do this story at the end is it just points to how you can't trust anyone to look out for your safety. You just can't. They're not going to do it. When you hear the word FDA, when I hear the acronym FDA or CDC or OSHA, I just hear incompetence, disregard, people getting fat, making big salaries.
So let me ask you, do you think
Dr. Fauci?
Do you think they can be cleaned up, or they're
Nah,
past?
It's systemic.
point?
It's a swamp. It's a swamp. This didn't happen overnight. And the reason I'm beating them up is because it happens all the time. It's not rare. We hear about failures, plane crash. Where's the FAA? Oh, yeah, we inspected that plane like 42 times, and yeah, we noted some deficiencies. Well, how did it get in the air? And it's just on and on. I mean, look, Sean, pick a government agency, federal bureau that doesn't have some level of gross negligence. I mean, the FBI, the CIA. Look at our Department of Defense. Okay, I mean, all these secrets came out this past week, secret documents about the United States position in Ukraine. And how'd that get out? It's like just beyond incompetent. It's just sloppiness, stupidity. And honestly, the only way, my opinion, the only way you can really fix it is to just clean it out. It's like an enema. We need to just flush the top 10% of the people that run these organizations out. They need to go. And we need to start with a fresh batch, because what happens is we just keep promoting the worst people that continue to do a bad job, hide behind systems of failure, never are accountable. Nobody loses their job. Nobody gets reprimanded. Nobody gets anything, okay? They get promoted. That's what they get. And so the only way to really fix the problem, and it's tough, is to literally go in and give them we need a federal enema. We need a federal enema program. Flush it. And let's start over and bring people that give a damn into these positions. And again, if you're working for a government agency that really doesn't affect public health, okay, that's one thing. But we're counting on public health officials whose job it is to protect us and our families, and they don't, and then they just skirt it. And there's just no room in my world for people like that. I'm sorry, just none. So you got me started.
Hey, you know what?
See what you did? You got me started.
Sometimes it's warranted. This is something that needs to be addressed. I like your solution, which is don't be afraid of starting at the top. You gotta remove what's perpetuating that mindset and those decisions downward. So I think it's bold. I guess my thing is, so what does it take? Does it take the people essentially to vote? How would the public be able to facilitate that change if they could?
How would you know that baby food is contaminated? The baby's eating it. You're not.
It's too late. Yeah.
By the time it's consumed, it's too late, and then it goes on for months. Mm-hmm. For months. Jeez. And then some politician bureaucrat's going to blame some system failure. No, dude, it was you that failed. It was you and your team and your field officers and all the other. Look, Sean, I do a lot of work that involves like OSHA codes and building codes, and it's just common. It's just typical. The building code official inspects a building, gives it an occupancy permit. It's a disaster. All kinds of mistakes. Go on our site and look at all the YouTube shorts that I post weekly. Just failures by building officials who don't catch obvious problems. I mean, how could that be? Then you go to OSHA, same thing. They just violation after violation after violation. How could that be? How many people have to lose their life? How many people have to die? Okay, and that's the truth. I'm not being facetious. How many people have to die before you fix the problem? And again, I'm really hard on code officials because that's their responsibility as well. When they're inspecting your home for electrical and fire and plumbing and all the other aspects that could potentially affect your public, your safety, not to mention slips and falls. Just do your job. And it's amazing how many of them can't seem to figure that out. Just watch the show. I mean, we have short videos after short videos after short videos showing just disastrous, factors that somebody should have caught. Property owners that have, unsafe premises. Where are they? I mean, why can't they find it? And so it's just really, really difficult because it's something that's really kind of burdensome to me because this is what I see every day. And I take it personally because it could be your mom. It could be, could be anybody's mom, sister, wife, you name it. Absolutely. And so I'm all about responsibility and I'm all about, people doing their job. And if you don't do your job, then be accountable. You don't just reward them and say, well, everybody screwed up, but that's okay. It's a systemic problem, society's problem. So anyhow, what a great way to end the show.
Absolutely.
What a great way.
For those watching, any questions, comments you have about any of these topics and maybe the FDA, please submit them. We could take a look. And I'm going to be doing some extra reading, talking to my family about this. So thanks for covering it today.
No, it's an important subject, and that's what this show is all about, is covering important subjects that most people never get the full story. So anyhow, with that, this is Russ Kensier and Sean Joseph wishing you a happy and safe day, and hope for you to come back next week. We got a pretty big show. We don't want to give them too much of a teaser, Sean, but we got a big show coming up.
I think you're going to like it.
Next week, and stay tuned. There's going to be some promos and a bunch of stuff coming up, but I think you'll enjoy it. So anyhow, with that being said, this is Russ Kensier. Thanks for watching Safety Matters, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, everyone.